everybody. Today we have a napkin art journal tutorial. We are going to combine magazine pics and napkins to make a focal point, and we're going to use stencils to make an interesting layered background. So I have this magazine picture. It's been requested by my viewers that I do some art journal pages with magazines. So I have this one. This one's it's kind of Zen-like, and I'm just going to cut it out, and I'm paying attention to what the background is, because these are artists, these are designers, and we can learn from them what works or suggested ideas. So I'm just cutting that out, and I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to position it at this stage because I have to work on some other elements, but I will be using my 7x10 Canson mixed media journal. Now this napkin is called Harmony in Blue, and it's from Ninny's Napkins, and I'll put a link to it as well as other products in the description box below. So if you're looking for the name of a product that's unique to this video, that's where you can find it. I'm just checking to make sure that I have both excess layers of this napkin off. Now, from the girl, I'm going with the feel Zen-like, relax, breathe. From this napkin, I'm going to take the colors, the blue with the gold or yellow. So now that the excess plies are off, I am grabbing my liner brush, and I've got some water, and I am water cutting the elements out. I'm not going to put the napkin and glue it down as it is. I could have, and when I put it next to my girl, it actually looked not bad. But I want to play with the composition. So I am cutting out all these blue, I think they're poppies. And then once they're cut out, I will play with them on my page to figure out exactly how I'm going to make everything work together. Sometimes I have an idea that they're going to look good together, but I need to do the water cutting, the cutting of the magazine picture out. So I get them as close to how I might use them to be able to judge. Now this napkin is a little thicker, I think, than many of the napkins that I've worked with. So I've just found that I need to go slower with the water cutting, and just slow and steady wins the race, I guess. Now I'm also paying attention to some of the patterns and the designs of the designer of this napkin. And I'm thinking maybe I'm going to incorporate that into my background. I go a different way after using the color scheme, but I will remember this napkin and the color scheme from this napkin, and maybe just use that inspiration instead of using the napkin itself. So I continue cutting out 1/2 of that napkin, all the elements, and now I want to put the base color down. Now my page has been gessoed because I find the paint moves easier, blends easier, and I'm mixing gesso with Naples yellow here. And I encourage you to embrace the imperfections, the splotchiness. That is going to add interest without you doing anything. I want some darker areas, some lighter areas. That will make my page, my background, more interesting. Now I want to introduce some of that teal into the background. So I grab this onion blossom stencil, which is one of my favorites. I use it a lot. It seems very, it's an onion blossom, but I've used it as a design element, a pattern more than anything. And I'm just putting that on. And if I look at the center of the blue poppies, they kind of have that same kind of burst. So I'm playing with a similar sentiment or similar shape. I'm placing back my elements on here. I'm happy with how the blue is working. And to go with the Zen feeling of the girl, she's doing yoga or doing some breathing, I grab this Ginkgo leaves stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. And these are available either at Ninny's Napkins, Amazon, or at TCW. And there are 3 different affiliate links in the description box. Now I'm using Naples yellow here, also yellow oxide, which is a tone darker than Naples yellow. And I'm turning the stencil using different parts. I'm even flipping it to get the opposite. I want this to be varied. I want different shades of that yellow. And then I'm going to be coming back in. I grab some white acrylic paint. What you saw me doing here, that was white gesso. It wasn't giving me as opaque as I wanted. So I do grab the white. There we go. So inspired by the girl and the pose that she had, I'm going Zen, the ginkgo leaves, the soft colors. And the color scheme comes from the napkin. So stenciling with white on top really softens your page, softens your background. And I absolutely love this background. And you can see a picture of just this background at the end. And I like taking pictures of the background before I put the elements on it. And I keep them in my computer as a reference. Because if I like how a combination of stencils works or a color scheme works, I want to have that for those days when I'm not feeling inspired. I can just kind of flip through there and go, oh, yeah, I can do that. So just working on composition. I have a couple ideas, but I haven't firmly decided. There, I'm going to put 2 of them together to make like a bud. Take time to audition, take time to play, and then take pictures along the way to help you decide. Now, where I'm going to glue some of the napkin down, I had stenciled with the dark blue. And I want to knock that back. I don't want that to come through the napkin and distort the poppy. So I'm just putting a layer of white gesso here just so I don't see it. And I want to make sure that's completely dry. Now I'm going to glue my napkin elements down with my Liquitex matte medium, and it's the fluid one. I glued the girl down with the gel medium, and I think I lost that footage. And I prefer using gel medium with magazine pictures. The fluid one seems to soak into the paper too much. Some of the magazine papers, and not all are created equal. So use matte gel if you have it for magazines and fluid for napkins. I grabbed a sentiment that I blew up from my short and sweet sentiment pack, and I just simply chose the word breathe. There's not a lot of room on here. I like using words on my art journal pages. If you don't, that's something you can leave out. Now, some of those flowers seem to be floating, and we're going to solve that problem in a bit. I'm just taking some brown paint and black and making some stems for my poppies. And this is kind of grounding it. And then I add a bit of a thickening at the top where it would attach to the poppy. These are abstract poppies. It doesn't have to be 100% realistic. So take freedom in that. They're just widening it at the top seem to really help. And the brown ties in with the hair. Now I want to brighten the flowers, so I'm using my Inktense blocks. Now these are ink, not watercolor. They are permanent when they are dry. And I'm just using it like a pan watercolor and getting it on my brush and then rubbing it onto my napkin. I have the colors swatched out, so I'm matching it as closely as I can to what's in my napkin, but I am brightening that color a little bit. It's not quite as muted as what the napkin is. Sometimes I'm adding a little bit of white gesso and sometimes different colors. This poppy was more blue than teal. Here I'm adding gesso, and then I'm going to come back and colorize it a little bit more. Have fun when you overpaint or give a wash of color to your napkin focal images. Remember, it's abstract. And just relax and do it loosely. Adding a little gesso here and there to add some highlights to my flowers. This is how you can make it your own. You start with what they've given you, and then you've added to it. Like here, I've added a whole bunch of highlights, and it really made that poppy pop. Poppy pop. Then I grab some of the Naples yellow and the yellow oxide, and I do paint in the centers of those poppies, which are the same color as the background. That poppy on the right-hand side kind of caused me a little bit of grief, but I kept working with it, and eventually I got it to a point where I like it. And you can always look at the original napkin if you lose sight of some of the lines. I'm really liking this teal, yellow, cream color scheme. Now I'm grabbing my angle brush and shading around the girl just to make that focal image stand out a little bit more. Now, when I've glued this down, there's a coat of gel medium on the top and underneath. On top is important. You want to seal that paper. If you don't seal it, if I was doing this, the water would soak into the magazine paper and you'd end up with more wrinkles or um, just kind of a discoloration. I just want to add a little bit of shadow. And then I go on and do some shading on the poppies. And again, they've been coated on the top with a layer of matte medium. That makes it non-porous, which then it won't soak into the napkin, and it allows you to paint on top and it allows you to shade without problems. Now at this time I'm thinking something's missing in the background. And if I had figured that out earlier, I would have done it before I did all my gluing down. But it's never too late, as you're going to see. I'm adding some of the black in the middle of the poppies, as well as shading. And as you can see, when I shade, I turn my page to make it do it however it works easier for you to do the job at hand. Adding the black here with the shading really added some contrast to the page, which was really important. As I'm looking at this now, I'm thinking I could have done this on a little mini canvas, and maybe I will since I have another 1.5 of these napkins. Leave out the girl and just have the blue poppies with the stems. That's why I play in my art journal. It gives me ideas for things that I may want to do on a canvas. Now I grab my General's charcoal pencil, this is the medium one, and I'm holding it loosely and I'm sketching around the poppy, not necessarily hitting it on the lines that are there, adding some more squiggly lines. And then I'm going to shade around the outside with the General's charcoal. And I love how that black edging, smudged edge, just really brought this page to life. And the General's charcoal, you get a really dark black color. So I'm still thinking about that background, and I want to add some script, but I want larger size script. So I grab this Art Is stencil, and I'm using the makeup brush and archival ink. I find that this is the best way of using these very fine stencils on a page. If I try with paint, I always seem to end up with a mess, and this gives a softer application because it's not black, but I'm loving the look. And I'm even going over top of some of the focal images, the girl, some of the flowers, with this stenciling. I got these blending brushes from Amazon, so I will link them in my Amazon store. So definitely, if I had done this before I did all the gluing, it would have been much easier. But I'm liking the idea of having some of the stamping or stenciling go on top of your focal images. It's just a different look. This page in its entirety took about 45 minutes, which is pretty quick. A lot of pages take a little bit longer for me. This one came together fairly quickly. Now I'm splattering, especially the side with the flowers, with some gold. I'm liking the details, and it just kind of knocks it back. And it hides some of the imperfections that you might be focused on. And I'm making sure that that's completely dry. And after I remove the tape from the coil, I'm using that General's charcoal to put a line above and below my sentiment. I want that same soft line. I'm smudging it just ever so much. Close-ups of the page and parts of the page are coming. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to it, tell your creative friends. Until next time, go get creative.